Alright, time for my first DPS guide, and we're starting with Moira. Just kidding. People call Moira the easiest support hero in the game, and while I do agree, I feel that she's misleadingly easy. A lot of inexperienced support players gravitate towards her because her abilities are very straightforward. You've got your damage on one hand, and I forget what's on the other hand. Anyone that has played this game long enough has without a doubt heard the stereotype revolving around Moira. Moira players don't heal. People get irritated when they see a Moira player doing damage instead of healing, but honestly, she only has those two options available. So ignoring half of what she's capable of doing just sounds like a terrible idea. So why is it then that so many players get upset when they see her doing damage? I'd say it can be summed up within two answers. One answer simply being that players don't understand how she works, and the other answer being that it was generally bad play from the Moira. The funny thing is that there's a flip side to this that's equally as bad. There are Moira players out there that are doing too much healing, but you'll never hear anyone complain about that. I mean, why would anyone complain about getting healed? And when you, as a Moira player, stops hearing your teammates complaining, you might be under the assumption that what you're doing is correct, but in some cases, you may be wrong. Now, I'm by no means saying that you should stop healing your team. What I'm saying is that there are cases where someone playing Moira might be overhealing. In other games, such as MMOs, overhealing can be punished by drawing attention, aka aggro, away from your tank, or it's punished in the form of overspending your limited healing resource, aka mana. Moira, in a sense, has a mana bar, but instead of being replenished by a potion or something like that, it's replenished by dealing damage. And while there is no direct punishment to overhealing in Overwatch, as Moira, other than that mana loss, there are still downsides that aren't very apparent on the surface. Healing too much as Moira can be just as big of a throw as doing too much damage. Moira can be a trap for players that love seeing big numbers on the scoreboard. And I'll have to unfortunately tell anyone that may have that mindset that the numbers never tell the whole story, and that they're nearly irrelevant when it comes to the grand scheme of things. It's cool to look at when you're having a great game, but at the end of the match, that's not what made you win. It was all just your team outplaying the other team, and that's something the scoreboard can't tell you. You see, I don't have all the support's healing per second stats memorized, and I've mentioned in my previous guides that knowing that kind of information doesn't really help you play any better. But I can tell you just from my playtime on support, that Moira has some of the highest, if not the highest healing potential of all the supports in the game. But you won't see people claiming that Moira is OP for this, or people winning every match they pick her. And if that isn't enough to convince you that healing isn't everything on support, I'm hoping I can change your mind by the end of this video. A lot of other support heroes have some form of utility that does something other than just heal or damage. Brig has a knockback and a stun in her ult form, Ana has her sleep dart and anti-nade, Zen and Mercy both have a form of damage buffing, and so on. Since Moira doesn't have any utility like those I just mentioned, to play her well, you have to find a way to make up for that. If you don't find some other way to get value out of her, there would be nothing valuable enough to set her apart from the other supports. So how do you create value on someone that doesn't have that value implemented into their abilities? My way of obtaining that value is by taking it away from the other team. You're going to force that Ana or Zen to reposition, force that Mercy to use her Guardian Angel, and force that Brig to get behind cover if her Inspire isn't active. And once those supports have been forced into a position they don't want to be in, you've now opened up an opportunity for you or your team to take them down. The bright side is that you can accomplish this without putting yourself into too much danger. Moira has all the tools available to get away with this while still staying on the task of keeping her team up. She can annoy the enemy supports from afar with her damage orb and coalescence, or when the opportunity arises, and she's close enough, she can use her secondary fire to apply more pressure, or simply finish the job. If the situation gets a little sticky, she can fade out and reposition behind her team. Her abilities don't have that long of cooldowns, so by the time you get back behind everyone, you should be able to quickly heal up yourself and the rest of your team, and then get back into the action. This is what will separate you from being considered a DPS Moira, or the opposite, a heal bot Moira. Your damage will have a purpose behind it, and your healing will only be done when necessary. Your team may not notice what you're doing, so it may go unappreciated, but trust me when I say, it will lead to more victories. Just consider how detrimental it is to lose a support in a team fight. It can completely throw off a team's momentum, just like losing a tank. There are times where things don't always go as planned, but this is the general mindset I have while playing Moira. If you sit back and assess the enemy team and come to the conclusion that the main problem you're having is that one of their supports is creating too much value, Moira is the perfect solution for removing that value. Instead of trying to out-heal them or mirror match them to prove you're the superior player, just remove that player from the game. It's honestly very fitting of Moira's personality. Nice design work, Blizzard. I hope that if you're someone that enjoys playing Moira and are having trouble breaking through to that next rank, that this has helped you pinpoint a problem you may not have noticed. Thanks. And don't forget, if you lost, blame the Lucio. GG.